Inside the Deck is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, sellers of Magic the Gathering and many other card and board games. GatheringMagic.com, your #1 resource on Magic the Gathering, strategy, and culture.
My name is Kenny Mayer, and the name of the deck is Naya Mid-Range. I guess you could call it a ramp deck as well. I have a certain predisposition to playing a green-based mid-range deck. I generally do it in all formats, so if there's anything that looks remotely viable of this kind of strategy, I will try to find it and play around with it, and it suits my style of play very much. The mana acceleration suite is 4 Pilgrim, Avacyn's Pilgrim, 4 Farseek, 4 Selesnya Keyrune. From there, the rest of the deck plays, it goes 4 Restoration Angel, 4 Thundermaw Hellkite, 4 Thragtusk, 2 Angel of Serenity, 3 Bonfire the Damned, and 2 Garruk Primal Hunter in the main deck. 25 lands, including some Kessig Wolf Runs and Cavern of Souls. The most important card of the deck is probably in the end Thundermaw Hellkite. Sometimes he's very, against aggressive strategies, he's like the worst card in your deck because you're playing a 5-mana defensive creature. But against all the kind of controlling decks, or with Planeswalkers or Lingering Souls or whatnot, he does exactly what you need to do, which is put the pressure on him and shift the game so that they're in the defensive role. And then once that happens and you're the proactive threat, you can usually just push the game in such a manner that they stumble and they can't keep up with what you're doing. The first card on my board is Loxodon Smiter. It's primarily used for the counter-based decks and aggressive strategies. The second card on my sideboard is Rest in Peace, which are intended for the graveyard-based decks. Following that is Selesnya Charm. It's an all-purpose utility card that I bring in, and it's just fantastic, answering most problems that you could come across. Following that is Garruk Primal Hunter, who are there to serve as a kind of to keep parity with Sphinx's Revelations from the blue-based decks. And then the last Bonfire the Damned for the matchups where that card is just the best thing in my deck. I like to think that it has the power to compete with most decks. I feel it has a little bit of a weakness to decks that can go over the top of it, which have been my losses so far this weekend. But everything that's kind of battling on like a normal playing field, which is most banned decks don't go over the top, like the Elixir of Immortality based Sphinx's Revelation deck, but traditional banned decks are kind of like the all the way down to like the red aggro decks. Everything in that in-between range, I feel like this deck can compete against reasonably well. It's a lot of the greatest hits of the format, or cards that were amazing in the previous format that haven't really been utilized yet. And a big reason for that, I think, is because the mana base is the worst part of this deck. It's still solid enough that I can play it and not mulligan very often, but when we get Stomping Grounds and Sacred Foundry, I feel like a lot of people will jump on board this train. Like it's serviceable now. There are a couple awkward occasions where you have to run like the M10 based kind of duels, and to answer your question in short, it's just a lot of really awesome cards that work together reasonably well.